Hello, and welcome back to ASMR Ghost Stories. I've been off for about a month and just getting some stuff done, and now I'm back. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right into 3 stories today. And just to let you know, I do have my dog in here with me, so if you hear him in the background, just know he is having his best life. The first story is Route 666, the Southwest Devil's Highway. Although U.S. Route 666 is now officially known as U.S. Route 491 or 393, the legend of Camino del Diablo, the Devil's Road, will be long remembered. The original naming of the highway had nothing to do with the number of the beast or Antichrist 666 as given in Revelation, the last book in the Bible. The highway was so designated because it was the 6th branch of an interstate route then known as US 60. The section linking Chicago to Los Angeles became the legendary Route 66. And the Four Corners detour from Route 66 was renumbered 666 in August 1926. But some say labeling the road with those numerals made it Satan's own road to perdition. The 190 miles of the former US 666 starts at Gallup, New Mexico, wends its way through 70 miles of Colorado, then ends in Monticello, Utah. According to numerous eyewitness accounts, on nights of the full moon, a black 1930s vintage Pierce Arrow Roadster has appeared and run scores of cars, trucks, and motorcycles off the road. The ghostly automobile has been linked to at least 5 deaths. Dr. Avery Teacher of Phoenix spent 10 years documenting reports of the phantom Pierce Arrow and the howling hellhounds that materialize to terrorize anyone foolhardy enough to pull off Route 666 and admire the desert landscape. According to Dr. Teacher, 2 members of a biker gang had both of their arms chewed off by the fiendish ghost dogs, and a 3rd biker had 90% of his face eaten away. The least threatening of all the reports from the Devil's Highway are those of a phantom female hitchhiker who vanishes whenever someone stops to give her a ride. On January 21st, 2003, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson stated his support to change the name US 666. The change became official in May 2003. A tunnel of grayness on I-80. In the late 1950s, I was driving late at night with my family heading west on I-80 near Ames, Iowa. Suddenly, we entered a section of road that had the thickest fog I had ever encountered. Intermixed with the incredibly thick fog was a flock of large sheep, or so I believed them to be, who really made the driving hazardous. At last, we broke through the patch of fog to find the highway completely free of the pea soup that had so thoroughly blinded my vision. I had been moving at an extremely slow rate of speed to avoid hitting the animals that had crowded around us, so I accelerated to make up time, cussing out the farmer under my breath for allowing his sheep to run free. Iowa has no open ranges. I thought back on the strange, unusually thick fog from time to time over the years. Mainly when talk of hazardous driving conditions arose, I could tell of the really thick fog that I had once encountered. I did not really consider the event paranormal until I received the following email from Kent in February 2002. Quote, I play in a jazz trio around the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area. Having an interest in the paranormal, I have found the nightclubs are a great place to collect first-hand accounts of strange events. Naturally, after a few drinks, people are more willing to talk about subjects they would not normally discuss. A second-hand account was recently related to me about a professor from Ames who, with his wife, was driving west on I-80 at about 2:00 a.m. one night. The couple supposedly had to come to a complete stop to allow a herd of wild horses to cross the highway. As the account went, the horses seemed to appear out of a fog and disappear into the mist of another side of the road. My entire family and myself had a very strange incident happen in roughly the same area several years ago, and we still discuss it when we pass that stretch of road. In our case, we seemed to jump about 30 miles up the road in an instant and arrived at our destination a full half-hour sooner than we should have. Also, there was a strange fog around the highway which seemed to cover both sides of the road and obscured the scenery totally, but the road itself was clear. That was the really strange part. It was like driving through a tunnel of grayness. She hangs by her neck during the full moon. By now, it is unlikely that anyone really remembers the names of the witnesses who first saw the ghostly image of the young woman hanging from the bridge on the old country road near Mount Pleasant, Iowa. But nearly everyone agrees that it was two truck drivers who had turned off the main highway at about midnight one night when there was a full moon. As they rounded the bend that approached the old bridge, the driver suddenly slammed on his brakes. "Look ahead," he said to his partner. "Look in the full beam of the headlights. There's a woman hanging there on the bridge." As the full impact of the sight penetrated his consciousness, the other men said that they should cut the woman down as she might still be alive. There could be a few sights creepier than coming upon the swaying body of a hanged woman suspended from the girder of an old country bridge, but the two truckers knew they had to do something, whether it was midnight on a deserted gravel road or not. Their feet had no sooner touched the coarse road when the form of the hanged woman began to fade from their sight. By the time that they had reached the bridge, the woman, noose and all, had completely vanished. The two men stared at each other with open mouths no longer capable of articulating the fear and confusion that jammed their brains. Just moments before, they had both clearly seen the wretched figure of a hanged woman swaying above the worn wooden planks of the old bridge. The second sighting of the ghostly hanging was by a young couple coming home from a Saturday night dance who saw the same grim apparition on the dark and eerie country road. Then other truckers and townspeople began to see the form of the hanging woman in the light of the full moon. We decided when our team went to investigate the apparition that we would have to be there on site on a night of full moon, for the ghost had never been sighted at any other time. So on July 19th, 1970, with the moon full above us, we sat in my station wagon with the psychic, sensitive Irene Hughes and a number of others just a few yards away from that haunted country bridge. My associate Glenn and I wanted to see if Irene could pick up on the ghost and the events that led to the hanging without having any prior knowledge of what she might see. All Irene knew was that our research team had taken her out in the Iowa countryside and parked at a particular place. Just a few minutes before midnight, someone whispered that Irene was in a light trance. Quote, "There's someone coming down the road," she said. 2 or 3 people agreed with the sensitive. I strained my eyes to perceive a midnight visitor, but I could see nothing more than the traffic sign advising approaching motorists about the narrow bridge and its load limit. Irene said nothing. She seemed to be tuned into another dimension, which the rest of us could neither see nor hear. The medium sat in silence for a few more moments. Then she spoke, slowly, precisely. Quote, "I see a woman swinging in a circle of confusion. She is disturbed, confused. She feels betrayed. She feels like she wants to jump off the side of the bridge." Unquote. A high, thin wail seemed to come from the direction of the bridge. Was it only the cry of some night-hunting bird, the distorted complaint of some farm animal, or the keen of a tormented soul? The frogs and crickets seemed undisturbed by any of the possibilities. Quote, "I see a circle," Irene said, speaking once more. "I see a woman committing suicide from this bridge." Again, it must be noted that we had not told Irene what she might expect to see at this lonely country bridge. "It was suicide," Irene said, "but there was another person involved. This is most unusual. Usually, when someone in spirit appears, they are dressed just as they were in life. I have never had any spirit who comes to me wrapped in a sheet like so many people think spirits do. But that is just what I saw on the bridge. I saw what looked like somebody dressed, wrapped in a sheet." "A shroud?" I asked her. "Ah, a shroud indeed," she agreed. "And she tells me her name is Brown, or maybe it was O'Brien. She was a brunette. I really don't feel that she was a sick person. I feel that this act was just a sudden thing in her life. I feel that there was a husband, but that he was not close by. Irene sat quietly for a few moments, apparently sifting through the psychic impressions bombarding her from the bridge. I'm hearing the name Helen, she said, resuming her reportage. I feel that this woman was having a love affair with a doctor in the community, and I feel that you will find that there was a doctor who left the town rather quickly after this woman took her life. I don't feel that this woman was mentally ill or anything like that. I feel that her life was okay, and then suddenly involvement with the doctor began. A reporter who had accompanied us asked how many years ago this happened. Irene said that she had the feeling that it may not have been more than 16 to 20 years ago, so around 1950. According to the information that I have, Glenn said, that would seem to be exactly the time that the ghost began to appear. Look, Irene said. Can you see it? A form was clearly there for an instant. It may be that our eyes were playing tricks on our group, but on the right-hand side of the bridge, there seemed to be a glowing figure. Oh, I see her so clearly, the medium said. She's wearing a yellow dress. Irene suddenly stopped talking. Then, after several seconds of silence, she says, She keeps telling me, honey, don't talk. Honey, don't tell them. I asked if there was some reason why she didn't want anyone to know why she killed herself. I think it's the doctor, Irene said. I think she was involved with the doctor who left soon after her death. By this time, the researchers had left the station wagon and were standing in the middle of the bridge. There were holes in the wooden planking, and we had to move our feet cautiously in order that we did not twist an ankle. I am getting the impression that some member of her family was from Philadelphia, but she came here from Kansas, Irene said. I'm seeing a huge sunflower, and that is the Sunflower State, isn't it? As discreetly as possible, we conducted a follow-up investigation after we spent several hours of a full moon night near the bridge with the legend of the hanging lady. Through one of our sources, we learned that there had been a young woman, originally from Kansas, and fond of wearing bright yellow dresses, who had come to the area and became romantically involved with a local doctor. The young woman had committed suicide in despair over their impossible love affair, and public opinion or conscience had forced the doctor to leave town. While some informants believed that the ghost of the hanging woman might well be the suicidal Kansan, others said that the young woman in question had not hanged herself, and that they were unaware of the legend of the haunted bridge. It is possible, then, that the spirit of the young woman in the bright yellow dress may have hanged herself at the bridge in an earlier decade than the 1940s or 1950s. Or perhaps the hanging woman is only a mischief-making spirit who takes delight in frightening motorists who travel a dark country road. Or maybe she is only an urban legend who shall be forgotten until some night when the moon is full and someone turns the bend toward the old country bridge and sees her ghostly figure hanging there. Well, thank you all for staying with me through these 3 stories. Have you ever encountered a ghost on a road? If so, comment below. I would love to see what you have experienced. And if you do like these kind of videos, hit the like button. And I do appreciate you. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed hearing my dog breathe heavily in the background. He is completely relaxed from my comforting voice. So until then,